Hi, I'm Sharon McCulloch, and I'm the Managing Director of StrongPoint Strategy. StrongPoint is a business advisory and services company. We help other leaders and teams help advance and grow their own companies. We have a leadership series called 25 Rules Needed to Lead, and I'm here today with Cassandra Toby of the Prosperity Center talking about rule number 23, which is work for the common good. And on that note, I'm going to let Cassandra introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm Cassandra Toby. I'm with the Prosperity Center, and we also have a podcast called Pondering Prosperity. The Prosperity Center will have an online school coming January of 2022 for entrepreneurs to help them build their first business plan and to provide coaching to help them launch their business. As for the common good, I really do believe that there is a big picture that it exists in every business, and it is really beneficial to the entire team to understand what that big picture is. And when that big picture is apparent, it really helps everyone to work for that common good, to understand what their role is to make that big picture a reality. Sometimes I remember reading an article not too long ago about and may even been referenced in your blog now that I'm thinking about it. But it was talking to hospital staff, and they were talking to janitors who worked in the hospital about the work that they did in the hospital. And the people that were the happiest recognized that the health of the patients was partially dependent on the job that they did in keeping the environment clean and healthy for the environment, and healthy environment, so that the patients did not stay sick but could get well. And so even cleaning and emptying trash cans and mopping floors, they saw their part in the big picture of creating a healthy environment for the people that came there to the hospital. And so I really think that that is part of that common good and understanding their place in that environment.
Okay, well, wonderful. Well, one of the questions I have for you is that, in working with entrepreneurs, as I know you do, and you're intending to at the Prosperity Center, by nature, they're very driven and often egocentric and very myopic in terms of focused on their goal. And when they're trying to develop partnerships, particularly when they're trying to develop partnerships or new lines of business, very often quickly lose sight of the common good. And so I'm just curious as to whether or not you've experienced individual roles or individual goals that are, actually work against the common good, and tell us about, if you see that, what strategies you would take to guide people to more purposeful collaboration.
I had a family that I worked with back in Southern California when I was working with entrepreneurs for a nonprofit, and they bought a tea house that they wanted to elevate. The tea house had not been doing well, and so they saw it as an opportunity to buy a business and bring it back. And the mother that was in charge, and this was kind of her dream, also had a lot of health issues. And so there was kind of that dichotomy of this was her dream and this is what she wanted, but the children ended up running it because the mother didn't have the opportunity because of her health issues. And so there started to be that, well, what did the mother want the business to look like versus, well, what did the kids who were working in it every day feel like the business needed to look like?
Right.
And having them find that balance and remembering why it was done and why the kids were supporting her and supporting her dream. And so kind of helping them find that why so that they could continue to work together and grow. And it actually became very successful and is still running successfully today.
Oh, awesome. So my next question is, in the blog we talk about, Thomas Jefferson, I think his first quote is, the idea that I'm not sure if I'm misquoting it. The idea is that the goal of commerce, of business development, is profits, is money, is abundance, is financial growth, versus social entrepreneurship that's really taking over now. I mean, the nonprofit sector is moving more towards social enterprises that they are for profit, but they have a purpose to enrich a community, or to solve a deep social problem like gun violence or homelessness or so forth. So I know that the balance between profits and purpose is always sort of off kilter, and trying to strike that balance is really important. So maybe you could tell us your thoughts on that, and are there any guiding principles that you would that you will teach your future students about how to keep those two bumpers?
Well, I think they say nowadays that people, planet, and profit are kind of the three things that any company should be worrying about. And people being both the people that work for them as well as the people that they serve. And then how are they benefiting or harming potentially the planet in the operations of their business. And then profit, obviously every company to continue to exist has to have profit.
Right.
So I would counsel all of my clients to work toward that, but I love the idea of a social enterprise. In fact, that is one of the goals of the Prosperity Center. As we grow, we want to find organizations that are workforce development agencies that we can potentially eventually do a buy one, give one. So for everyone that enrolls in our courses, we'll be able to give one to someone less fortunate that would not be able to afford our courses through the internet, that will be able to help them build their business plan and potentially build their entrepreneurial dream through a workforce agency. So
that's definitely for the common good, I would think.
I hope so.
Yeah. So that's wonderful. So another one other question is this idea in here about buck passing, where if you have a purpose or if you have a common good, right? But then some outside pressure or inside pressure, whether it's a customer driving down your price to the point where it's a negative margin, or a new market entrant, changing your whole value proposition, or your employees or partners, driving out what you think is, that core common good. And so, to me, buck passing means you're buckling, like you're just giving up your common good and saying, oh well, I need to make money, or I need to stay in business. And of all the things I hear most commonly, it's I had to do it, versus ultimately it's a choice. So yeah, I'm also looking for your thoughts on that. Like how do you guide people to hold fast to common good, whatever that is, under pressure? Like, how do you hold your center?
I think that really comes back to your values, and it comes back to your why. Why did you start the business in the first place? What were you hoping to get out of the business? Were you hoping to make a difference in the world? Were you just doing it for the money? Were you doing it to create an income for your family of a certain level, or were you trying to create a revenue stream within your community that could provide jobs that were of a livable wage for people? And once you figure out what all of those are, you have to come back to those and say, is this worth it? Am I foregoing all of the whys that I started this in the first place for something that doesn't mean anything to me? That isn't tangible because of the pressure of this person or that person. And hopefully you are strong enough individual. I mean, you were strong enough to start a business in the first place,
right.
Which isn't something that somebody that doesn't have a little bit of gumption can do. So hopefully you have enough gumption to then stand up to the people that are pressuring you, or the situation that's pressuring you, to find a way to be creative and to stand by your why.
Yeah. Thanks, Cassandra. That's really great. Just as a reminder, we've been working on leadership, Strong Points leadership rule number 23, which is work for the common good. And Cassandra's just helped me remind myself and all of us here listening that we're connected to each other. We have a common purpose and common caring that we often forget to acknowledge in our business and in our work.